Alrighty, guys. As I said, if we had a new severe thunderstorm warning, I would be back with you, and well, here we are. Jacob Melton back with you, live here with West Michigan weather, just before 8 o'clock p.m. this evening. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning that has come in for extreme eastern portions of St. Joseph County and then mostly northern portions of Branch County. This warning does go until 8:30 p.m. this evening. This is primarily for the potential of 60 mile per hour wind gusts, although penny-sized hail is also a possibility, and we have a tornado possible tag with this warning as well. We'll go ahead and read off the warning text here. The National Weather Service in northern Indiana has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for east central St. Joseph, albeit only a small portion of that, in northern Branch County until 8:30 this evening. At 7:54 p.m., a severe thunderstorm was located near the Colon area, 12 miles west of Coldwater, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. And it does look like we got another severe thunderstorm warning now for Calhoun coming in as well. So we'll go over that one in just a moment. Again, hazard, this one's 60 mile per hour wind gusts and penny-sized hail. Radar indicated is our source. Locations that are impacted include Coldwater, Union City, the Colon area, Gillard, Sherwood, South Butler, Madison Lake, Hodunk, and Fairfax. This also includes Interstate 69 between mile markers 16 and 21. Remain alert for a possible tornado. Tornadoes can develop quickly from severe thunderstorms. If you spot a tornado, go at once into the basement or small central room in a sturdy structure. For your protection, move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a building. And now we'll go over to our severe thunderstorm warning that is also in effect now for roughly the southeastern half of Calhoun County. That also has a tornado possible tag. It is in effect as well for 60 mile per hour wind gusts and penny-sized hail. This appears to be an extension of that cell we're watching moving into Branch County. But at this point, we'll read off the text there. This is the Weather Service in Grand Rapids. Has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for southeastern Calhoun County until 8:45 this evening. At 7:58, a severe thunderstorm is located over Union City, or 10 miles to the northwest of Coldwater, moving east at 45 miles per hour. Hazard again is 60 mile per hour wind gusts and penny-sized hail. Locations impacted include Albion, Marshall, Homer, Union City, Burlington, Marengo, and Teconcia. For your protection, move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a building. So again, we have two severe thunderstorm warnings that appear to mainly be associated with this cell move towards the Colon area. That will be moving towards Sherwood, Girard, Madison, and Union City again, unfortunately. I know areas near Union City was hit quite hard earlier. Unfortunately, we got another cell heading in that direction. So we'll take a look since there is a tornado possible tag. I am not seeing immediate concerns of a tornado, but I am seeing some rotation with this storm potentially. Looks like potentially near the northwest of the Coldwater area. Yeah, northwest of Coldwater is where we'll be watching for the potential of some rotation. Nothing immediately concerning in terms of a tornado to me, but nonetheless something we will be watching in the short term. If we go back to reflectivity, you'll see there's a couple areas we'll have to watch. One northwest of Coldwater and another near the Colon area. You'll see how it we have these little appendages or hook type signatures. That's something we watch for when it comes to rotation. Again, nothing immediately suggesting the concern of a tornado, but nonetheless something we will be watching for you over the next half hour to 45 minutes. Again, outside of that, these storms again are generally moving to the east and northeast. So that's something we will have to watch in the short term. Anyways, we'll do a couple of storm tracks real quick. We'll track this portion first near the Colon area. Bring that off to the east at around 55 miles per hour. Going to bring it into Sherwood pretty much right now or in the next few minutes. The Girard area around 18 minutes. To Concha in 21 minutes. The Butler area in 26 minutes. The Eckford area in 31 minutes, although it's already storming there. The Homer area, eventually 31 minutes for that portion of the storm, although it'll be storming sooner there. And eventually Litchfield. We'll have to be watching Hillsdale County as well, particularly northwestern portions in the longer term as well. So, again, we'll do another storm track of... Okay. And anyways, let's go back to velocity. I want to check that again. Again, nothing immediately suggesting a tornado threat to me. This looks probably more of a high wind threat to me at the moment. However, we've seen it happen earlier. These tornadoes can spin up relatively quickly in these types of thunderstorms, and we don't want to, especially after what happened earlier this afternoon. If you're in the Union City area, then even back west towards Three Rivers and towards the Edwardsburg, Cassopolis area, after what we've seen earlier today in that area, we would rather not take chances, and we'll be watching these storms very intently over the next little while. So, other than that, we'll do a general radar reset. Other than that, we have no active severe thunderstorm. These two warnings are the only active ones in our area. And if you are in areas like Kalamazoo, Hastings, Grand Rapids, and especially up north like Muskegon, Big Rapids, Ludington, US 10 corridor, Mount Pleasant, you haven't seen all that much really, and that's going to remain the case at least for the evening hours. There's maybe some light showers up towards the Baldwin and area, up towards Cadillac, but those, nothing significant out of that than just some rain showers. Outside of the severe warned storms, we are watching other thunderstorms moving through southeastern and northern Ingham counties. None of these storms are severe at this time, but could still some heavy rainfall, frequent lightning, maybe some gusty winds and small hail, but no significant severe weather currently anticipated of that activity. And back west of our severe thunderstorm warnings, it looks like they just updated our warning for Northern Branch County. They have dropped St. Joseph County, so northeast St. Joseph County, your warning has been dropped off as the storm has moved out of that area. So Colon area, it's still storming, but the severe part of this storm is left. It is mainly a Northern Branch County issue at this point, and then also southeastern Calhoun County. But besides that, we are watching other storms back off to the west. As we were discussing in our last live stream before our rather quick break, we were watching some heavier storms in that area, mainly just heavy rainmakers at this point and frequent lightning. But there is also some flooding concerns possibly developing along the US 12 corridor, because these storms have been sitting over this area for a little while now. And when you get heavy rain sitting over an area for a persistent amount of time, the rainfall rates are too heavy for the drainage systems to catch up. That's how you get flooding, especially in typical low-lying flood-prone areas. So just be aware if you know of any flood-prone areas in areas like Edwardsburg, White Pigeon, Constantine area back towards Niles. Just watch those areas, and I would not be surprised to see a flood advisory or something of that nature come out in the not too distant future if this training of thunderstorms continue. Which training of thunderstorms, in case you missed it from our last live stream, just a little bit ago actually, that's just thunderstorms passing over the same area like a train on a train track. That's the terminology we like to use for that. So, but again, our main focus right now is on our two severe thunderstorm warnings. At this point, mainly for Northern Branch County and southeastern Calhoun County. These are both for the potential of 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and penny-sized hail. Although we do have the tornado possible tag on it, which means we are watching for signs of rotation that, while not immediately tornadic enough to warrant a tornado warning, that's just a signal that being watched and be ready for if a tornado does spin up, which sometimes can happen with little warning. So we'll take a look at velocity again since we're on that subject. And I want to say near the Girard area, maybe some rotation, weak rotation. Nothing imminently tornadic to me. This activity, which hopefully we can get that to remain the case. But maybe some weak rotation near the Girard area. That is what we'll be watching here in the short term. Some weak rotation near the Girard area. At least on this radar signal, a little bit more near the Clarendon and Homer areas. Nothing imminently tornadic again, but we'll be watching this over the next little while, just in case. We'll go back to reflectivity. Let me animate and we'll do another storm track actually for that Girard storm. Just getting our bearing straight on the track. Northeast. It's like at around 20 miles per hour. That sounds about right. Okay. Zoom in, try and get more towns on there. So the Girard area, not quite in the cone, but it's over your area pretty much right now. Same thing with the Tecontia area. Butler, you're not quite in the cone, but you will be in the storm within the next several minutes. It says Clarendon within the next half hour, assuming a 20-mile-per-hour storm motion. But it's already storming in the Clarendon area. This is just for the potential rotating portion of the storm. Homer area, again, it's also storming that area already, but the rotating part of the storm about 40 minutes away. The Albion area, I think this rotating part of the storm will stay south of you for the most part, but nonetheless, about an hour away if it was a track in that direction. And Concord, we will eventually be watching in the next hour as well. So, clear that track. So, again, we're going to take a look. Yeah, we're still monitoring signs of rotation there. Not imminently tornadic, I do not think, but something, again, we will have to watch in case one does spin up. So, go back to reflectivity. And we also have to watch when these cells merge like that. Like we got a storm getting ready to be ingested, potentially near the Girard Coldwater area. See that little storm out ahead of Coldwater? We have to watch that stuff, as sometimes the mergers can drive this activity from time to time as well. Again, we're not seeing imminent tornado signals, nothing that imminently requires a tornado warning, but something we will be watching here in the short term. Let me go back actually up to the Grand Rapids radar. That might provide a better look as well. And again, weak rotation near the Girard area on the Grand Rapids radar as well. That is a higher up look into the storm too. But otherwise, some gusty winds towards the Clarendon area. I'm actually I'll be right back, guys. I just gotta close the door here in our studio. Give me just 1 second. That, guys, I am back with you here. Anyways, we continue with our severe thunderstorm warnings that we've been discussing with you for a little while. And let me see if we got any reports coming in behind the scenes. I do not see anything. No reports coming in yet, which hopefully we can get that to remain the case. But nonetheless, we continue with our 2 severe thunderstorm warnings. I will briefly discuss that we are watching this line segment as well towards this Parma and Eaton Rapids areas, Onondaga, Tompkins. that's moving off to the east. And it does look like we got a flood advisory that has just popped in here for the Lansing area. Just popped in the last 30 seconds or so. That is a flood advisory for the Lansing area in northwestern Ingham County until 2:15 Saturday morning. We'll go ahead and read off the text on that really quick and go back to our severe thunderstorm warnings. But urban flood advisory in effect till 2:15 p.m. 2:15 a.m. Saturday morning, excuse me, for urban and small stream flooding caused by excessive rainfall, including northwestern Ingham County, minor flooding in low-lying and poor drainage areas, water over roadways, ponding of water in urban or other areas is occurring or is imminent. At 8:13 p.m., radar and automated rain gauges indicated heavy rain. This is causing urban and small stream flooding. Some locations that will experience flooding include Lansing, East Lansing, Edgemont Park, Okemos, Holt, and Hazlet. Turn around, don't drown when encountering flooded roads. Most flood deaths occur in vehicles. Be especially cautious at night when it is harder to recognize the dangers of flooding. Be aware of your surroundings and do not drive on flooded roadways. So again, so there's some common areas in the Lansing area that tend to flood. Like I know towards Pennsylvania Avenue near the Potter Park Bridge. I know there's some spots over towards the Frandor area that might flood as well. Just be aware of that. Any areas that commonly flood in heavy rainfall is likely flooding right now. And if you do encounter a flooded roadway, do not attempt to drive through the floodwaters. You're better off turning around, finding an alternative way. And if you don't have to be out on the roads in this area, honestly, don't right now. Just let the rain get out of here. Let the drainage systems catch back up. And the flooding will be not necessarily be an issue in the next several hours. But in the short term, if you don't have to be out, I can't tell you not to go out, but I can recommend that just kind of hold off if you don't have to be out. But anyways, before that, if you notice that, we are watching this segment of the line, Eaton Rapids, Onondaga, Tompkins, and Parma. We are watching maybe for the potential of some gustier winds too. Nothing imminently in terms of severe weather, but 40, 50 mile per hour winds maybe. And we'll be watching maybe some these little notches you have to watch for as well. It's notable on velocity. Sometimes you can get a little bit of rotation and enhance a wind, or maybe a brief spin up tornado. Nothing of that is imminent to me, but just something we are watching in the short term. But besides that, we'll go back to our severe thunderstorm warnings that continue for Northern Branch in southeastern Calhoun counties. Again, we were watching the main portion of the storm we were watching was towards Girard. It's now towards the Butler area we are watching for potential rotation. It is rather noisy in nature. There's not really your typical couplet that you look for in rotation that suggests a tornado threat, but just seeing some signs of maybe some weak rotation. Again, it's noisy, but it's something we are watching for here in the short term. I will say this, we do have the outflow boundary coming ahead of this storm, Coldwater, Bronson areas. You want to see when the outflow boundary starts to surge ahead, again, as we were discussing earlier, that's cold air rushing out from ahead of the storm. You'll notice it get windy ahead of the storm. You'll notice it get cooler. That's the cooler air rushing out from the storm. If it rushes out too far ahead, it'll cut off the storm from the warmer inflow air that it needs to sustain itself, and it'll start to ramp down with time. Although you can also get storms that kind of flare up behind the outflow boundaries as well. So something we'll be watching with those storms with that as well. But again, nothing imminently concerning in terms of a tornado threat. But with the tornado possible tag, we are watching that. But generally, The main threat of these storms continue to be wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour, and the potential for some small hail, maybe up to penny size in diameter. This warning for Branch County does expire in the next 10 minutes. We'll have to see what the Weather Service in Northern Indiana decides to do with that. And we'll also be watching within the next half hour to see what the National Weather Service decides to do with the warning there in Calhoun County. And we'll stick with you again, similar to what we did last time. Is once these warnings expire, we'll stick around again a little bit longer. Maybe we'll see how long this time, just in case, just so we don't have to jump right back on again. Wasn't really expecting this, but these things happen sometimes, so. And I told you we'd be back, and we were. So, again, we got no active. It looks like they let the warning for Calhoun County drop off. Let me check behind the scenes here in just a moment. But it does look like the warning for Calhoun County was around to drop off. As the strongest part of this storm, these storms were really moving out of the warned area at this point. So our only active warning, which will appear to drop off in the next 10 minutes, is for Branch County. They did let the Calhoun warning drop off. Let me pull up the source behind the scenes to confirm that. It does look like they did cancel the severe thunderstorm warning for Calhoun County. That warning has been canceled. And the reasoning for that, if I pull that up, storm which prompted the warning has weakened below severe limits and no longer poses an immediate threat to life or property. Therefore, the warning has been canceled. However, strong thunderstorms with gusty winds, lightning, and heavy rain will remain possible in the area through 9 o'clock Eastern Time. A severe thunderstorm watch remains in effect until 11 p.m. for South Central Michigan. So again, they let the warning for Calhoun County. They canceled that. Those storms are no longer at the severe threshold, but nonetheless still strong with gusty winds and heavy rainfall and frequent cloud around lightning too. We still do continue with this severe thunderstorm warning for the next few minutes across northern Branch County for the next little less than 10 minutes. However, if the weakening trend, which there's also, I'll say, is evident here too, I suspect that will probably be let go as well. And we'll probably just hang out for a little bit longer. Let these storms get through Jackson County, and then we'll probably actually be able to get off the air. So we'll just hang out for a little while, let this Boeing segment get through Ingham and Jackson counties as well, and northern Hillsdale County. So with that segment of the line starting to bow out a little bit, just something we have to pay attention to. Besides that, we do continue with our flood advisory that we were just talking about for the Lansing area. Let me actually pull up storm total rainfall. We do not have a legend for that loaded into the system yet, but it looks like the darker blues and greens here, that is between 1 to 2 inches of rain. In fact, we're approaching maybe 2.5 inches of rain near the East Lansing area. This is radar estimated, so be interesting to see what actual ground observations were, but it looks like between 1 to 2 inches, if not up to 2.5 inches of rain fell with those storms as they fell in the Lansing area, and it's still raining. Albeit the rain will lighten up with time, but the rain is continuing. So we need a rain to really get out of here for the drainage systems to catch up. But in those urban small stream areas in northwestern Ingham County, be watching for flooding right now. And if you do encounter flooded roadways, do not attempt to drive through them again. Just turn around, don't drown. Remember that. It's an important thing to remember in flooding situations. It's not worth your safety. It's not worth your vehicle, nor is it worth the safety of the first responders that would then have to come out and come rescue you for if you do get stuck in the floodwaters. It's not worth their safety either. So just kind of turn around, find the alternative way. That little bit of a delay in that extra route was worth it. So we'll take a look at velocity on the spelling segment, though, that we were discussing. And again, not severe at this point. But we are showing 40 to maybe 50 mile per hour winds, albeit, again, several thousand feet up, not necessarily reaching the ground. I will say we are noticing, again, maybe a little bit of rotation. Again, this is higher up near the Litchfield area, a little bit of rotation. Nothing imminently tornadic. In fact, we'll go back to the northern Indiana radar for that closer scan, albeit still a couple thousand feet, still several thousand feet up. But again, no imminent tornado threat. And there's no warnings in this area now towards Litchfield, but just something we will be watching in the short term. But otherwise, I do expect this warning near Branch County to be allowed to expire. And we'll be able to, then after that, we'll have no active warnings once again. Otherwise, if you're north of I-96 at this point, you're not really seeing much of anything. Especially once you get north of M21, you're not seeing a whole lot now, other than some isolated shower activity up towards Big Rapids, Reed City, and up towards Cadillac, but nothing of significance is coming from that. I do believe they are going to allow the Northern Branch County warning to expire at 8:30. The storm which prompted the warning has weakened below severe limits and no longer poses an immediate threat to life or property. Therefore, the warning will be allowed to expire. A severe thunderstorm watch remains in effect until 11 p.m. for Southwest Michigan. Let me just double check some stuff behind the scenes. Okay. We'll be able to do a quick side note after. Alright, we'll take off warning the radar just for a moment. I'll throw up our severe thunderstorm outlook, because it looks like they are allowing, it is not updated on this system yet, but I will say just in the last little while they have decided to allow the marginal risk to continue. It is not quite updated on this system yet, unfortunately. So sometimes it takes a little bit of time to update, but put back radar in the short term then. I'll go and tell you what exactly is going on the outlook, though. We do remain at a marginal risk for the most part across the area. It looks like a delay on the SPC side. Let me check on some things, though. Okay, so we do remain at a marginal risk of severe weather. Give me just a second, I'll be able to potentially pop that up on the screen. Give me just a second, guys. Are we doing things kind of on the fly here? Let me get a alert call back up. There we go. So on the SPC website, let me fix our zoom level. Grand Rapids. There we go. So we continue with a marginal risk of severe weather. This is from the evening update that comes out. Comes out around 8 o'clock typically. Later this weekend, they'll turn to 9 o'clock when daylight saving hits. But again, this is our day one outlook evening update. We continue with a marginal risk of severe weather across all of West Michigan. And our tornado risk remains at 2 to 4% of a tornado within 25 miles of any given point in this map. So we'll say Lansing, for example, 25 miles of that, you get a 2 to 4% chance of a tornado. This is not this is mainly for the overnight round as well. And this outlook does go until 12Z the next morning, so this goes into Saturday morning. However, This will not be the tornado setup that we had earlier this afternoon and evening when we had those likely stronger tornadoes in southwest Michigan. This is not the situation we're looking at there. This is mainly a brief spin-up tornado situation if it happens. Severe wind outlook. We continue to maintain a 5 to 14% chance of damaging wind gusts within 25 miles of a given point. So in this case, we'll say Grand Rapids. 25 miles around that, you get a 5 to 14% chance of a damaging wind gust above severe criteria, which is 58 miles per hour or greater. Severe hail, again, similar situation. 5 to 14% probability of severe hail within 25 miles of a point. So in this case, we'll pick Alma. 25 miles from Alma, 5 to 14% chance of a severe hail report, which is severe hail in this case will be quarter size or greater. And I will also quickly note that we do have a marginal risk in effect for Saturday as well. This is mainly for Saturday morning, primarily across southeastern portions of our coverage areas, so areas like Coldwater, Hillsdale, Jackson, and then towards like Stockbridge. Those areas are technically in a marginal risk for Saturday as well. Again, this is primarily Saturday morning and primarily an extension of what will be going on overnight tonight into early Saturday morning. Give me just a second and I will actually pull up okay. Give me just a second, guys, while I work on pulling up our secondary severe storm timing map. Discord for that. Okay, so this is the severe storm timing map that we will be looking at. Let me transition back to the other source. There we go. So I will actually turn off the alert crawl just for a second so that the full image can be displayed. But again, we're expecting an additional round of potential strong to maybe severe thunderstorms during the overnight hours. It will first move into our western zones along and west of US 131. West of US 131 will be between 3 to 5 a.m. Pretty much along the 131 and M66 corridors between 5 and 7 a.m. It will be towards the US 127 corridor and I-69 corridor between 6 and 8 a.m. and eventually towards an east of the 127 corridor between 7 and 9 a.m. After 9 a.m., we're not really super concerned about additional severe weather at that point. And Saturday will turn out, after this, probably will turn out a little bit better than today. So at this point, we'll go back over to radar. Give me just a second. There we go. Back on radar. And so we have no active severe thunderstorm warnings across the area. We are still watching this segment of the line stretching from near the Mason area, Jackson, back down towards Coldwater. There are no active warnings in effect for this portion of the line, but just be aware of the potential for gusty winds, probably up to 40, maybe 50 miles per hour, and maybe some small hail in addition to the heavy rainfall threat that could be producing some localized flooding. I will zoom in real quick, though, on the Jackson area, Spring Arbor area. We are seeing a little bit higher wind being indicated on Doppler radar. And on both radars, is our short range radar working? Yes. Okay. We have a shorter range radar actually in southwest Wayne County that primarily covers the Detroit airport, Wayne County Airport over in Wayne County. This actually does us good across extreme southeastern portions of our coverage area. So think southeastern Ingham, in the Jackson counties and eastern Hillsdale County. This helps provide us a little bit lower level scan than both the Grand Rapids and White Lake, that's the NWS Detroit office, NexRad radars. And in this case, we're not showing anything in terms of severe wind. A couple thousand feet up, maybe 40 to 50 mile per hour winds, maybe 55, maybe a few thousand feet up. So probably we'll say 40 to 50 mile per hour winds at this point would be reaching the surface. Although we are also watching maybe a little bit of rotation on the north side of Jackson, kind of near the 127 I-94 interchange, maybe a little bit of rotation. Definitely not anything imminently tornadic, I don't think, but still some gustier wind potential across Jackson County. And we'll go ahead and hang out for a few more minutes just in case, in the off chance this does go severe warned. But other than that, not severe at this point, but we'll be watching it closely over the next few minutes. Besides that, we are watching other storms in Branch County, currently not severe, but still could be on the stronger side with heavy rainfall, gusty winds and frequent lightning, and some additional, mainly heavy rain activity at this point back across Cass and St. Joseph counties, but nothing severe at this point, and we don't see too much of a reason to be more concerned at this point in time than for maybe some flooding potential. But mainly across Jackson, Hillsdale, Eastern Branch, and Southeastern Ingham counties in the short term. That is our primary area of focus. Not only for the gusty wind, maybe damaging wind potential, but also for areas of heavy rainfall. And again, we do continue with our flood advisory that we've been mentioning for the Lansing area of northwestern Ingham County. So think Lansing, East Lansing, Edgemont Park, Hazlet, over towards Okemos, the Meridian Township area, Michigan State University, and towards Holt as well. You're in a flood advisory until 2:15 this morning. And this is due to the heavy rainfall from thunderstorms that have been over the area. Between 1 and 2 inches, if not higher, has already fallen, and it's still raining there, so that's adding to the totals. And the drainage systems can't keep up with that amount of rain in a short period of time. Hence, we have areas of localized flooding issues. I have not seen any reports in terms of that yet, but I would not doubt it. Just checking additional sources behind the scenes. As soon as we get this main Boeing segment out of Ingham and Jackson counties, we're probably going to go ahead and call it again in terms of the stream. Just wanted to hang out a little bit longer, just so we don't get any more surprise. We don't get too many more surprises in terms of severe warnings. I will say that this round will be continuing to wind down over the next hour or so. As we talked about, by 9 p.m. we expected this to wrap up. Of course, the severe watch goes until 11 p.m. We won't completely wrap it up until that watch is either expired or canceled, but by 9 p.m. we expect things to, in general, be on the calmer side of things. But of course, we'll still be here watching just in case. But at this point, we see no signs of imminently severe weather. If you're in the Stockbridge area, Dansville, you're getting heavy rainfall, frequent lightning, probably some gusty winds. Stockbridge, you're going to get the heavy rainfall, maybe some gusty winds here imminently in the next few minutes. Down towards the Leone, Jackson areas, you're in the thick of the heavy rainfall, maybe some gusty winds as well. Waterloo Village, over towards Napoleon and Brooklyn areas as well, and southeastern Jackson County. You're going to be seeing some heavy rainfall, frequent lightning, maybe some gusty winds. We'll go back to the northern Indiana radar. Cold water, you are in the thick of it right now with the heavy rainfall and frequent and lightning and maybe some gusty winds. But at this point, once again, we have no active severe thunderstorm warnings across West Michigan. Those were just a couple brief warnings. We just had a storm kind of pulse up a little bit again, like we were talking about. May happen. So let me go check on velocity. We're going to take a look at the terminal Doppler again. This is a higher resolution and lower level scan. And we're still showing a little bit of brighter greens here. That is 40 to 50 mile per hour winds. Being indicated about 1.5k feet, 1.5 thousand, 1,500 feet up, we should say. And that should be out of the county, we'll say, in the next 10 minutes or so. That should be through out of Ingham and Jackson counties. It will be more of a Livingston and Washtenaw County issue, which I will also note in Washtenaw County. This is out of our coverage area, but we got a decent little hailer near the Ann Arbor area, producing up to half-inch hail. Special weather statement in effect for that. Again, not severe, but just a notable little hailer there near the Ann Arbor area. Which to say observations over there are not really supportive of more than that. And temperatures generally across the area right now, looking at observations, it's in the lower 50s and even upper 40s to the north, even lower 40s up towards the US 10 corridor. And then if you're along and south of I-96, if you're south of M46, you're mainly in the mid to upper 50s near 60. And that's the general theme across the rest of the area except for Hillsdale, which is still at 64. However, looking at the radar in that direction, on the northern Indiana radar, they see that outflow surging out ahead of it, which means we may have to watch this Bethel area cold water Kinderhook cell. As I was discussing earlier, when these cells interact with the outflow boundaries, sometimes they can pulse up a little bit too. So that's something we will have to watch again over the next couple of minutes. But nothing imminently severe appears likely with that activity. So, again, we continue with no active severe thunderstorm warnings across West Michigan, and we are hoping that will be the theme at least for the rest of the evening before we eventually have to pay attention to what happens in the overnight hours. Which, let me go over the composite radar real quick. As you can see, there are several active. There's active tornado watches. We got severe thunderstorm warnings and even tornado warnings south of Tulsa, northeast and south of the Tulsa area in Oklahoma. We got active severe weather off to our west. And it is this we might have to pay attention to for the overnight hours, the very late overnight into the early morning hours of Saturday for additional low-end severe weather potential. Again, the primary risk with that is going to be for low-end damaging wind potential. Although with the shear in place and large hail potential, hail and wind potential is the low end with that. Although with the shear in place, we still cannot fully rule out the potential of a brief spin-up tornado, although that will be a lower threat than it was earlier today when we had those, unfortunately, rather strong tornadoes, it appears. We'll have to wait for official damage surveys across portions of Cass, St. Joseph branch, and potentially in the Calhoun County as well. So at this point, I'll transition back to single site. One more update on our storms here in extreme southeastern Ingham at this point and extreme eastern Jackson County. That will be out of the county in the next few minutes, at which point we will probably go ahead and take another hopefully take a little bit longer than a few minute break from live streaming, kind of reset, get ready for the overnight threat. Hopefully get a little bit of rest at least. So it looks like they are updating. Let me see what's up with the severe watch. Alright, I will pass along a few more reports that we have gotten. 3 miles southwest of Lansing, nickel-sized hail was reported around 7:30. That was with our earlier severe warning storm in the Lansing area. And at 8:21 p.m. emergency management, we do have confirmation that northbound US 127 closed at Grand River Avenue due to water covering the highway. That is in the Frandor area on the east side of Lansing. Northbound lanes of US 127 have been closed at Grand River Avenue due to water covering the highway. In fact, I will take a look behind the scenes at the MDOT cameras. Alright, it's like I should say both directions of US 127 is closed. Northbound is closed at M43 Saginaw Street, and southbound southbound US 127, is closed at M43 Grand River Avenue due to flooding issues. Again, that is one of those flood-prone areas that tends to flood in the heavier rainfall situations, and that is unfortunately holding true in right now. So if your travels take you towards the US 127 area in Frandor, it will be best you find an alternative route, as that is closed in the area due to flooding from heavy rainfall. So, and that is about it there. No other reports to pass along. Just something I wanted to pass along real quick. Let me check on behind the scenes on that other storm near Grass Lake. Nothing imminently concerning. Just some 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts continue there for the next few minutes. But at this point, I think the severe threat, relatively speaking, is starting to calm down, at least for the evening hours. Again, we will be watching the overnight hours just in case something does ramp back up. But at this point, that will be a lower end threat than what we've had this afternoon and evening. So, at this point, we're probably going to consider wrapping up this little secondary stream because of a pop-up severe thunderstorm warning. I will say we are watching near the Leone area in the short term in Grass Lake. That is the area we're mainly watching for additional severe weather potential in the form of gusty to maybe damaging winds. There's no active warning though. So that is what we'll be watching in the short term for gusty winds. Otherwise, we're generally looking at just some rainmakers south of I-96 through the evening hours, and then an overnight threat, which we'll be watching for late this evening. However, severe threat will be on the lower end than it was this afternoon and evening. But at this point, since we got no active severe thunderstorm warnings across our area, we are probably going to wrap it up this stream. Thank you guys for tuning in with us this afternoon and evening. We hope we were able to keep you guys informed and safe throughout the afternoon and evening. And we will be here during the overnight hours if those conditions do warrant. And our thoughts are again with everyone in southwest lower Michigan that was impacted by the earlier storms, particularly in Cass, St. Joseph, Branch, and Calhoun counties. Thank you again, guys, for sticking with us, and stay tuned with us. We'll keep you advised of the additional storm potential overnight.